Hello, and welcome to our next panel. I'm so excited. We just had an amazing session with Brian and Victor, Brandy and Greg, and Michael Hartnett talking about real CRE implications in our new normal. I hope you were just there. Now coming into our next amazing session. I call them the Power Women Duo, and they don't even know that yet.
Oh, goodness. Oh, boy.
I'm really excited for this conversation. If you didn't join our opening comments, one of our biggest missions at the CRE Connect Summit is to drive tech and innovation into the industry. And there are multiple layers of that. I'm so excited to hear about how HITT is driving business growth through their research and development. Today we have Kim Roy, the CEO of HITT, as well as Megan Lantz, the Vice President of Research and Development, joining us straight from their collab, which is so cool.
Well, thank you for that introduction, Seema. I think we're looking to connect our presentation here. Give us just a second on that. Have a great company of engaged team members. Specifically, we have different types of work types that we operate in the commercial space. And you can see here up on the screen a few examples of them, but certainly a few to highlight: our healthcare practice, our technology, our commercial office offerings, and something that's, I think, special about HITT. We're happy to take any project of any size for our clients. That is, if your team member doesn't like the door hardware on their door, let us come handle that and fix that for you. All the way up to, I would hope the same company would call us for a $250 million plus commercial headquarters space as well. So,
all right, so why are we here? Why are we focused on research and development? I certainly like to start every project with why. And so I thought I would talk to you a little bit about the business case for R&D from our perspective. The first really is the labor shortage. Years ago, we sat around and started really noticing a lot of trends in our workforce, with those having a hard time attracting and retaining talent in the field, especially in our site operations, looking at certainly challenges in our subcontractor market and the availability to skilled labor and workforce development. The second is safety. Our culture is really focused on safety. We want everyone to show up every day and go home the same way. And so we look to try to find ways to innovate to make our jobs safer. The innovation gap. There's definitely not a shock that the industry has really not evolved that much over time. Really, the last 50 years, we've been using the same sticks and bricks. And as an industry, we're really investing less than 1% of our revenues into R&D. Especially when you compare that to maybe a manufacturing industry that is looking at 4 to 8% of their revenues. We knew we were certainly behind. And lastly, the rising costs. This is something that both on the commercial and residential side has been endless cost construction, not just in materials, but also in labor. And we understand that performers are getting harder and harder to work, which is not going to help us in the long run in evolving our industry. So now that you have the business case,
so that's a good identification of the problem statement that we have. So for a long time, we've been talking about how are we going to solve some of these problems. And the first thing we talked about doing was we needed to develop a plan. And I would say all good plans start with great leadership. So we, 3 pieces of this. We first said we need to invest in a team that's focuses solely on deepening our R&D practice, right? And thankfully, Megan and her team are here and are a big part of that within our company. But we also had to engage our broader leadership. A lot of our leadership is, thought, well, these are good ideas, but, why would we invest in that? How does this make a business case for it? And so we needed to make sure that we had the commitment of our entire leadership team. And then finally, we also wanted to ensure that we engage with the leadership and the team members at our partners and at our clients' companies. So we asked the question, what's important to you? How do you think the construction industry can evolve? The second part of our plan was we wanted to devote time to this. And as mentioned, we wanted to make it a part of everyone's interests. We wanted to allow the time for team members that perhaps had a great idea. We had a team member come to us that said, I'm really kind of tired of water infiltration happening in buildings, and I think I've got some solutions that may work so that we can mitigate this. We thought, great. So we have to make sure we have enough time for our team members, but we also wanted to ensure that broadly we had a team and their time was focused on that as well. And part of our plan, place, we're talking to you from CoLab. I think that we could have picked any sort of warehousing space or even carved out some section of our headquarters building to do this, or our regional office space to do this. But we wanted to really double down on our commitment to this and create an innovative space, and a space that inspired not only our team members, but everyone that comes to it. We're going to talk about a little bit more about CoLab in a minute. And finally, we wanted to invest money. So if we're all in, let's be all in. And we put together a 5-year plan with financial commitments for each of the years and what we intended to how we intended to use that money. Okay, and then after you have the plan, I would say probably concurrent after we had the plan, concurrent with the plan, we developed some goals. And the goals here, the first one with our business model, we both wanted to diversify our business offerings and we wanted to increase our market share. And so part of that is by adding expertise in areas that, to the next point, affected the cost in a positive way. So, I don't know, my children have an iPad that I bought a Gen 1 iPad, and I can tell you the cost of those iPads kept coming down as it went along. Construction, not so much, right? Construction costs continue to escalate, and our clients have said to us time and time again, how are you going to stop this rising escalation of cost? So that's part and a really key focus of HITT's R&D interest. The quality of our work. I know that you never want to take away the uniqueness of space and how the great designers we work with don't want to produce widgets. We love that. But we also know that the quality we deliver can absolutely be affected by taking warehouse and machinery, robotics, et cetera, and adding more precision to what we do out in the field as technology has advanced. Productivity, as Megan mentioned, the labor workforce, there's over 300,000 open positions in construction right now. We are not going to be able to fill them. So we have to think about doing things differently. And in this case, how can we gain productivity without having the bodies that are there to do the work? The environment, part of HITT's DNA is a commitment to sustainable stewardship, and we wanted to keep that in mind in all aspects of our business, including our research and development platform. Speed to market. So like most everyone, you want what you want, when you want it now. We wanted to move people into places faster, and so our R&D considered all aspects of delivering construction quicker. I see these videos, they're amazing how quickly things come together. A couple days and buildings are assembled. But wanted to make sure that we considered speed to market, and we wanted to attract great talent. And so part of the attraction of the talent is having an environment where we say, we care about what you think, and we want to tap an largely untapped voice amongst all of our team members. Tell us what you think. How can we do this better? And finally, at really last but not least, first in everything we do is safety. So there's the R&D aspects of safety with wearables, et cetera, but there's also the concept of, doing things safer. If we are innovative in construction delivery, let's keep safety in mind in all that we do. So these were our 8 large goals for our R&D programming.
Okay, and how are we actually going to get all of this accomplished and really achieve those goals? We really centered around 4 key pillars. The first is methods. So trying to find different ways to actually build our work to, again, drive home those goals of productivity and speed the market. The second around materials. What are the materials that we're using every day? And instead of taking that singular approach to the materials, bringing them together and understanding how that could make an impact to have a stronger environmental sustainability impact, as well as improve the speed and the cost on the job. The third is technology. There's no shortage of opportunities out there, and this is us really focusing on what are the tools that we can get into the hands of our team members to make their jobs easier, more effective, and more efficient. And really the last being around performance. This is not just about the performance of construction on the job, but this is the longevity of the job. We understand that these projects we're building are going to be around for 10, 20, 30, 100, 200 years. And so we are trying to find ways to find a better performing building to get in the hands of our clients and to make it easier to manage in the long term. So one thing that we certainly struggle with is this seesaw, this balance of execution and exploration. And so we are definitely builders. We are focused on execution. Let's find a project. Let's figure it out. Let's see how this is going to drive their productivity. But we also recognize the need to really expand our culture and to get people to explore and to try new ideas and really not be afraid of failing. And so we've looked really hard at keeping this balance between execution and exploration. And so I'm going to share with you, we're going to share with you 4 different examples of what we've done and really kind of what the results have been.
Okay, so our first example is the building we're talking to you from. This was the big one. This was a big investment. So CoLab, we'll talk, physical space. We cared very much to have a state-of-the-art facility. We wanted to test out new strategies and really push the envelope in the AEC community for this building. Culturally, we thought it was important as we shifted from our culture at HITT is very client-centric. It is, we want to take care of and be the easy button. And but we also wanted to challenge the status quo. And I think that was new for us. And so part of our cultural shift was trying to leverage this space and all of our kind of broader campaign associated with it to inspire innovative thinking, to really educate not just our team members, but all the stakeholders on, and be transparent, what works and what didn't. Some things we spent a lot of money on and we didn't get a lot of results out of that. Other things we were like, man, we're onto something here. Let's not hoard this information, let's share it. So we want to be very open and certainly use this building to develop partnerships with other companies and with other people that want to join in that dialogue. So here at the lab, the building itself, it's the story of the building. It's a mass timber facility. I'll be quick. I know a lot of you have heard about our CoLab, but it was something we hadn't done a lot of mass timber before. We wanted to try it here. We ran into some definite logistics challenges with erection of the timber structure. So we learned things out of that. And that is an example of where we have an opportunity to we saw a gap in the marketplace. We need qualified erectors for mass timber. And we also saw that lessons that we could use for future projects. And we have clients that have reached out to us, talked to us about your mass timber experience. So that was a great thing for us here. Another key approach here was life cycle and facilities maintenance. As Megan mentioned, we intend to hold this building for numerous years. And now that we're in it, what are we constantly learning? We're not turning a building over and saying, hey clients, how did that net zero thing work out for you? We're saying, ooh, let's keep refining this. Let's keep learning from this. That was a really important piece for our education. LEED Platinum, IFLI Pedal, Net Zero, these were all commitments we made. We wanted to push boundaries for rating systems, and again, with the interest of explaining to clients, here's something we experienced. I know something that I really learned a lot about was red list materials and going after the materials pedal for ILFI. A big piece for that, there was no skylights that didn't have red list materials. And so we kept reaching out to manufacturers. Finally, we found someone that wanted to engage with us, that wanted to develop this with us, furniture manufacturers, et cetera. So we felt proud that we were able to push some early adoption of these things in the industry. And then finally, design thinking. I think a big part of what we do is we would hit the wall, we would ideate, we would come up with all of this, and then we'd back up and rethink and go to the next piece of this. So really big picture, and then breaking it down into sizable chunks with all kinds of different elements of this building, which led to a very successful space that we really enjoy working at. On many days, you can find Megan and I upstairs up on the rooftop, working and hopefully getting these good R&D ideas cooking. So this is the slice through the building just to give you a better idea. And you might be able to see behind us, this is looking into the bays, but again, just a beautiful space, and the maker bays where all of our R&D tangible projects are happening, and then our large conference space for our thought leadership to occur. And then here, this picture actually already gone. Most of the items in this picture have moved along, and we've got our next phase of projects in. But you can see the intent there is to do different studies of materials, and the mashup of different systems and processes, and that's CoLab.
Okay, I'm going to shift and talk a little bit about our next project, the virtual superintendent. And so you'll notice on the left-hand side, this was really our first generation mobile communication device, where we were really trying to create a robot to deploy in the field to help support our site operations team members. A lot of our job sites are big. They span multiple floors, multiple acres, and we wanted to have an extra set of eyes and ears around the job site to really support our team members and ensuring that we were delivering a great project. And so on the left, this was our, again, first generation robot. We learned a lot from this. We invested a lot of time and resources. We learned that we're certainly not robotics experts, and found that we had a hard time getting the robot to actually move over items, go upstairs, really trying to hit any bumps without falling over, as well as, it didn't have the lifespan or battery that we really had hoped it would have. And so the team that worked on this very fondly named it Myrtle after our founder. And it was something that, even though the project itself was not successful and we weren't able to deploy it really at a large scale on job sites, it did get us to think differently and understand what worked and what didn't. And then when we went out to the market, we recognized, you may have seen our partnership with Boston Dynamics earlier this year with Spot. We saw that they are the robotics experts and certainly had a product that we were really excited about potentially partnering with in the future. And so I'll click the play right here. You can see Spot the robot going up the stairs. It pretty much in the first 5 minutes of being with the robot recognized it accomplished all of the challenges that we had of moving over top of equipment, sensors, and we're hopeful in the future we'll be able for it to call an elevator and get upstairs. Another project that we did was really focused on modular, right? So this has certainly gotten a lot of traction in the market. This was different because it was a fully finished on the interior and on the exterior modular project where we implemented it, really thought about implementing it in both the multifamily and hospitality spaces. So we built this project out on site. We did stack the units. It was very successful from what we set out to do and what actually happened. What we learned from this, though, is that it didn't unlock this massive productivity gain that we were really hoping for. And so while we learned that we could do it, we recognized we should probably pivot and maybe start looking at some other opportunities, which we'll talk about in a minute. All right, our most recent project that's in the collab right now is around a digital stealing infrastructure, really utilizing low voltage cabling and powering lighting through Ethernet. And so this is something different. We learned that it's a much safer way to build. It's very cost effective at scale. It's easier to maintain from a facilities management perspective in the long term. And it's got a great ability to connect with IoT and provide a really great user experience for team members in the space, whether that be through, occupancy sensors, reserving conference rooms, maybe adjusting the condition of a space. And so that's one that we actually just had a master's series yesterday on this particular topic, really diving into it. And so I'd encourage you to check back next week. Hopefully we'll have the recording up on our site and you can learn a lot more about this particular project.
Okay, so what have we learned? And I see we're getting some Q&A. It's like, oh wait, there's a question here. This is cool. A lot of these questions, we'll try and weave in some quick answers. But what have we learned through this process? I think first and foremost, we learned that it's never cheaper the first time, and so part of what that looks like for us is we know that. So going into it, we're not hoping to gain this massive productivity shift or massive cost savings on the first time we do it. But we want to go about this in a way. We have something called a program framework that we use, which we've got upwards of, 50 ongoing projects, and Megan can give you a couple examples. But we have to stay disciplined to these, and we have to really document and dig into all of the individual elements of our R&D projects so that we're able to forecast an ROI. And so knowing that it's not cheaper the first time, what can we do? What kind of slight improvements can we make to improve that, and then proof the ROI in future instances? We celebrate successes and failures, as Megan mentioned. When Myrtle was kind of a bust, our first gen, we were like, heck yeah, we built a robot. Like, this is awesome, So I think that our team has grown very comfortable with being able to backtrack and then go down a different path if it's not the right path for us. And long-term investment drives growth. I think a lot of this is, again, about perhaps spinning off our knowledge in these areas into being able to take care of clients in new spaces. Something that we've been doing now for the past couple of years is industrial work. A lot of that comes from precision concrete so that the robotics are able to move around in the warehousing spaces. This comes back to R&D efforts for us that we spent a lot of time researching and fine-tuning. So a lot of this is a long play. You cannot jump into this for short term.
Okay, and where do we go from here? What is next on the horizon? I think for us, we're going to continue to drive to achieve those goals. You heard Kim talk about, evolution of the business model, impacting the cost, speed to market, talent, and really the list goes on. We're focused on really achieving and driving all of those goals. And how are we going to do it? We're going to focus on those pillars: the materials, the methods, the technology, and the performance. I think one of the most important aspects of a strategy is deciding what you're not going to focus on and what you're not going to do. I will say, from an R&D perspective and innovation, there are ideas every day and shiny objects. And so we've been very diligent and focused in understanding what those core aspects we're going to focus on, writing those program frameworks to really challenge ourselves to understand, is this really something that we should invest our time and resources in, really before we go down the path too far. And then really looking at, again, increasing the productivity and lowering the cost, really trying to impact our clients' bottom line. When I think about where, what, our projects are that are on deck, we're going to see a lot more on the prefabrication side. We're working on ways to come up with both structure and skin systems that are completely prefabricated offsite. We're looking at trying to build buildings in weeks and months instead of years. And I think, in addition to that, large format 3D printing, how can we print all of our furniture? How can we look for ways to, again, focus on those 4 core pillars, but also be able to really impact the bottom line?
Before you click, there have been a few questions about investment during COVID or COVID related for the pandemic. I think the easy thing for us to have done would have been say, let's pause on investment, and I would say largely financial investment in this area, right? And we 100% decided against that. It was the absolute wrong time to say, let's change course because of the pandemic. Certainly a big piece of what we do, we wanted to commit to job security for all of our team members, which we did. We kept working during that time, but I think it would be very short-sighted of us to say, let's just pause on coming up with these, the ideation and these ideas and investing in them. So we continued foot on the gas the entire time. So I'm not sure that the pandemic really had any effect on our R&D, absent kind of space requirements and how we went about keeping people apart and practicing all of the COVID procedures.
Yep. There's another question about, if we see modular and factory prefab as the future. I did just mention that, but from a prefabrication side, we absolutely are focused on finding ways to look at that across all trades, and absolutely think that it's an opportunity for us to focus and really help increase the productivity, the efficiency, the speed to market, and that quality aspect.
Someone asked what was the biggest failure. I wonder what your answer would be for that. These are tough. I would say, part of our biggest failures are, that we didn't go quick enough. We didn't jump into this fast enough. There's so many great options for builders, and we want to be a part of that dialogue to change the industry. So I feel like we're starting maybe a little bit late on some of this, but otherwise, every time something fails, I think we learn something from it, and we're able to share that message with our clients. So I don't know that I'd see any other failures. What do you think?
No, I'd actually have to agree. I think maybe not getting started fast enough and staying focused early enough.
Yes.
I think that we learned to really hone in on those pillars and stay focused on materials, methods, technology, and performance, because there are so many options, and then very quickly our time's inefficient and we haven't made a difference. And then you go back to that seesaw of execution and evolution and ideation. And I think at the end of the day, we are all builders. We want to see a product at the end. We want to know that it was successful or a failure and learn from it. And so I think that's probably for me where we could have done that earlier on.
And clearly identifying too what the goal is for that individual project.
Yes.
So we would spend money, we're like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
But that doesn't translate to an ROI for it. So while
Kim said there's only a certain percentage of cool that I can do a year, and then after that we have to make sure there's an ROI.
State the business case. Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah. Little cool is good, but little cool. Mostly state the business case. So maybe our failures were around when we weren't clear and we didn't clearly articulate what the goal was for that individual project, and then we came out of it maybe learning something, but not really making as big of an impact.
There's another question about, is this a new vertical for HITT? As far as like being a market sector, no. This is something that the entire team and company supports and is behind and wants to be a part of. And similar to what Kim mentioned earlier, we don't look at R&D as a profit center. The projects themselves maybe aren't making money. They're more of an investment. They are bringing opportunities to expand our horizons and expand the market share in different ways, but not necessarily out of that one direct initial kind of seed project.
It's a service offering for our clients. If something large scale were to break off, like we were to infuse a polymer into a new type of material, we could perhaps look at that as a separate entity, but it wouldn't ever be a part of our, our passionate building offering that we have. I know we're running short on time. We'll go to our last slide here for, and then see if we have Seema can tell us. But, we use this quote. Megan and I were debating quotes. Which quotes should we use? We have lots of quotes that we really like. But, this is maybe our challenge to you and to all of you attending the summit is, there is a better way to do it. Find it. Thomas Edison, very, very intelligent person, but find that better way to do things and then stay really committed to it. And let's do this together. We welcome you to follow us on social and join in our conversation and engage with us. Send us something you want to, a project you want us to fund for you here at our lab. We would love to do that. Reach out to us anytime.